Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to City Skylines 2, and welcome back to Columbia County. I hope you're having a good one, because I am so excited to be back. Things are going really well for Columbia County at the moment, and I should say there has been one small change since the last episode. It is insignificant. It doesn't really make any huge differences to the city, but I think it would be wrong to not show it to you. And then once all of that's out of the way, we can talk about what we're going to be doing today. And just to be clear, I do mean it's a relatively insignificant change. I decided to make this regional road go at a 45-degree angle from these guys because I just thought it might look a bit more interesting. I've also played around with these intersections and made them slightly larger and asymmetrical because I figure that's better for traffic, I suppose. And then up this way, I sort of changed this intersection as well because it was starting to have some problems with the amount of people going back and forth, and it also seems to be doing okay. It's kind of tailing back a little bit. It's kind of getting a little bit chaotic out here, and it's definitely a busier section of road, but it's not tailing back in a way that has me all that concerned. So yeah, I'm not all that worried about it. What I am worried about, though, is the state of elementary education in Blackwater. As it stands at the moment, we have a capacity of 900 with 3,500 people eligible for elementary school. We do have 324 eligible for college and 245 for university, and we will get to those at some point. They will not be built in Blackwater. They will likely get their own little campus somewhere in the world. I don't know where or when or how or what that's going to look like, but that's sort of going to be the plan. But I would like to do something about this elementary situation, and I think that's probably going to be a good excuse to start looking at this space in here, specifically this little area that we have going on. Now, to be clear, I love these little alleyways, and I'm not planning on changing a whole bunch of them. But I think this one in particular, we could change up just a little bit. So I'm thinking we go in and we turn this into an actual stretch of road. And I'm thinking we come down here and we sort of do something similar. We go alongside these row houses with a section of road. I don't want it to be parallel. That might come in later. I was toying around with that, but we do something like this. We have this road go straight out there, and we have this road sort of go straight down to here. And that doesn't look like it's messed too much with the zoning, which is great news. And then this guy is just going to punch straight through there. We'll take out the excess, and that just gives us a bit more of a major road to play with. And I think that's probably a good thing, given that I want to put an elementary school in here. Specifically, I want to build this one. I want the city elementary school because the capacity is 1,500. And while it is a slightly larger building, it's not actually larger than this building we have here. It's a little bit larger than some of these guys, but it's not going to look horribly out of place. And I think that's kind of what's going to be important. So what I would like to do is have a bit of a look at how I'm going to put this in here and what it's going to look like, because my thinking is we might want it to be set back from the road a little bit. That might not be the worst thing in the world. Although alternatively, I could, if I really wanted to, just slap it on this road and have that be that. And it's kind of tempting to do that just because I do want a little bit of density in here. And I think we'd be overdoing it if I did more park space in front of this building. So you know what? We're going to keep it simple. We're going to put it right there. And that's going to be our new elementary school, I guess. And then next to it, we'll just do some mixed use housing because that's going to let us fill up this space. So we'll go in here with something like this. We'll go in here with something like this, and we'll go in here with a few of these guys as well. It would be nice if this space was filled up with an actual building. There we go, because that's going to give us that wall-to-wall thing that we're looking for. And then we'll go through, and we're going to start making these buildings a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller, just like that. So it kind of feathers down from the larger building. On this side, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, and we'll do this. And again, that lets us feather down from the larger building, which is exactly what I'm looking for. And that is going to give us a decent chunk of density in here, which isn't the best thing in the world, but I think we'll manage, and I think it'll be okay. I'm also thinking that I might break my rules a little bit by just putting a couple of little buildings in there. And looking at all of these, these are all corner buildings. So this is going to be a great little thing going around that corner. I think it's going to look fantastic, which is very exciting. And here, I think we can get away with a little building right there as well. Although, if I got rid of this guy, I could do a little section of road right here. And it's going to give us a weird intersection, which I don't love. But if I did a little section of road, even an alleyway in here, we might be able to have some fun with some parking lots behind all these buildings. And by all accounts, that's probably not the worst thing in the world, given that we are going to have this elementary school here. So let's try a little something with an alleyway here. We'll do this. And then what I can do is go in here with a tiny parking lot. Although the zoning on this road is kind of weird. So hold on a second. Let me do it this way. We'll do a partial section of this alleyway. We'll do a tiny parking lot and a tiny parking lot and one over here as well. And then we're going to continue this straight through, which didn't mess up the zoning, but that's fine. That seems all right. I think we can work with that. And you know, I've got to be honest, this is definitely about as dense as I want this area to be. And honestly, it's probably about as dense as I want all of Blackwater to be. I really don't want to go bigger than this. I don't want high rises. I don't want skyscrapers, although I do want to come over here for a second because I've been thinking about these buildings and they're really bothering me. And I think I've got a solution for how to deal with the fact that they're really bothering me. And I think that solution is to first off de-zone these spaces and then go in with a little 3x4 there, a 3x4 there, a 2x4 there, and a 2x4 there. And that'll just feather the heights of those buildings down a little bit. And in the space behind them, I'm just going to go with, I don't know, some hickory trees, some birch trees. I think we'll do birch trees. We'll do a line of them and we'll have them be maybe slightly larger and spaced out a little something like this. And honestly, that'll be totally fine. I'm not really too worried about the space back here. I'm probably not going to look at it that much, although we could maybe just go in here with some bushes as well, just to kind of, I don't know, decorate it a little bit because it's me. Of course I'm going to do this. So there we go. That's, in theory, going to solve my problem. These two buildings, like, they're really out of place and they're still going to be out of place. They're way too big for this part of town, but they've kind of become a staple of this space. They were built up so long ago. I think it's only fair that we kind of let them stick around. And then these guys, these mixed use buildings should, if I've done things properly and I've zoned properly, assuming I get the buildings that I want, we just get this kind of step down thing. We get the big building, the medium building, the little building, and then the row houses. So it looks a little bit less out of place. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if that bothered anyone other than me, but I'm okay with this. I think that looks better. Now, when it comes to this little space over here, I'm kind of looking at this area and thinking parks, which I know it's completely original. No one's ever thought of that before when looking at a little area like this in City Skylines. But I'm thinking parks. I'm thinking parks are kind of the way to go on this. So I kind of just want to bring this straight across and maybe just run it straight into that road like that. I'm not really too worried about the crossing. If I want to, I can kind of just go in and get rid of it, which I think is exactly what I'm going to do. And then these paths can sort of run right around the backs of these buildings. I mean, this one could arguably run straight down there, but we could also do something like this actually, which might be better. And I'm going to connect these guys together, even though it gets rid of that corner, because I think this is just a little bit better as well. And then I'm wondering, can I just run this straight down here? Not really. It really doesn't want me to do that. So this might be slightly tricky. This might not really work out the way I was hoping it would, but you know what? It's totally fine. We can make it work. Maybe we just run this, I don't know, straight down to here. We'll run a little something straight down to here. Yes, it's giving me those crosswalks, but I'm really not too worried about it because we can, again, as we've done, just go in and turn them off. And then it just gives us that little like seamless connection to the roads that I think looks all right. And I suppose what I can do, given that this is a little corner building, first off, let's lock the level of these buildings because I don't want them to upgrade and mess with my, I don't want them to mess with my surfaces. So we'll just lock them and then go in here. I can keep the game running while I'm doing this. I'm really not wanting to get back into the habit of pausing the game every time I try to do something. We just do this. just fill up that space with the surface. I think that looks all right. Over on this side, we could probably go through here actually and just do a whole bunch of manicured grass. That would probably be a great way to fill up the space. So we'll go all the way up to here. We'll go across, and that gives us some beautiful lines to play with that I'm very excited about. And then I think this space is going to be kind of a little continuation of Park, I suppose. So I could do this fence across the front of it, or I say fence, I mean wall. I might do the wall across the front of it, honestly, just to sort of continue that theme of Park through there. So that would be this little wall, which we can hopefully go through and get set up properly. So we want to go basically from here. That's a good little starting point, straight down to about there. And I'm thinking I'm also going to just continue this up a little bit further. I might go around the backs of these buildings completely. I think I will do that actually, kind of just surround the little green space with these walls. So it's much more distinctly a part of, you know, this is all separate from these buildings basically is kind of what I'm going for. I don't know if I need to do that. I don't know if that matters, but it's what I'm going to do. So we're not going to worry too much about it. Let's get this all connected together. Let's hope that I can come in here and get this to look a certain way. I'm hoping for the best with this. I'm hoping we can get it to all just look really good. I can't go straight across there. I'm going to have to curve it, which is always a bit of a nightmare trying to get these curves to work properly. But that right there actually worked really nicely. And then on this side, we are going to try to get something that goes to about there, which worked really nicely as well. And on this side, it's going to be even easier. This is just a straight shot down to here. We can even turn on guidelines to make this even easier. So it's going to be a straight shot from there to about there. And that just surrounds it and kind of ties it together. The same wall on both sides ties it together, makes it a part of Park. And I think we could even go so far as to just extend this district. We can bring it up to here. We can bring it up to there. We can bring it over to this corner. Can I grab a little node in there? I don't think I can. So we'll just bring it to that intersection. And there we go. Just a weird little, weird little extension of Park. Now, something else I'm considering for this space back here is that we might want a little bit more parking. Now, I don't love covering this entire city in parking lots, but I think it's probably somewhat realistic to have a bit of excess parking back here or extra parking back here, given that there is an elementary school. Now, I'm doubting that my students are going to be driving to school, but you never know. People might need somewhere to park. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say that we can put a couple of little parking lots right there in the middle. You apparently don't have an electric. There we go. That's been sorted out. Do I want them this way or do I want them closer with more grass on the sides? That's going to be the real question. I don't think I'm actually going to get that as a choice. I could put them right in the middle. I think, well, is that going to work? Is that kind of an option? That is absolutely not an option. You know what? We'll just go with what we had, I think, unless I just want to have a bunch of grass on the other side, which I don't think I do. So we'll do this and we'll do this. It lines up nicely with the tiny parking lot that we have there. And honestly, that seems totally fine. We'll go ahead and just upgrade them with the key walls so that everything's kind of doing what I want it to do. I would like to get those key walls on the insides here as well. I think that's going to be a pretty good shout just to sort of surround these things as we usually do. So that gives us that little bit of fencing there. And it just means I don't have to go in and do it, which I don't really want to go in and do it. So this works out nicely. This is pretty good. right, so the question that I have now is, what am I going to do with the rest of this space? Because the zoning is not exactly ideal and not exactly something I'm looking forward to working with. So what I might do, since zoning toolkit still hasn't been updated, which is fine. I'm not trying to be any sort of way with that. I'm just a fact. That's all. It's just, I'm just saying it's not been updated. It's just a fact. What I can do is go in here with a retaining wall, which is admittedly going to do a little something for the terrain or the shadows there, which I don't love, but in fairness, it is doing a thing. It is doing a thing to give me zoning on this road instead of the alleyway. I don't like the shadow. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of the shadow, so I think what we'll do instead is actually just use the key wall the entire way around here, kind of enclosing this entire thing, which is whatever, I suppose. I think we can kind of work with this. I'm also going to lock this building so that it doesn't end up getting demolished because I just messed up some zoning in there. I think this works. It encloses this space. I think over here we could arguably do something similar to bring that key wall down here. I don't want it on the side that has the parking though, so we'll just do it there. And again, it just kind of frees up the space a little bit. It gives me room to do some larger buildings in here, which I might do. I'm not 100% sure what to do in those spaces just yet. I'm kind of thinking mixed use, although I'm also slightly tempted by like low rent housing. Although I do want to see, can I get away with this? No. So that's not going to be considered a corner building, unfortunately. I could use Find It to place something like that manually, which I'm not against doing necessarily. If we go in here to buildings and we go into mixed buildings, we could sort of flick through here. We can find, you know, this building's for the, I don't know, it's EU mixed level 1. We need to be looking for ones that are, yeah, have like left in them or that have right in them. So if I do mixed right and I do NA in there as well, it'll give me NA mixed right. And then we could do something like this. I could place something like this here. It's very tempting to just place something like this here. A little 3x. Oh, there's a 3x5 in the North American ones. I didn't know that. Well, it's a corner building. It's about, you know what? I'm going to do it. This is going to be one of the few times that I think placing it manually is going to be a good shout because it gives us something that kind of wraps around this corner. It does mean that we're going to be dealing with this little railing right here, but I think I can have some fun with this. We do have a garage up here I'm going to have to work with, which is all right. We have this little tunnel here we can work with, which is all right. And it's not huge. It's not bigger than the school, which is fine. As for the rest of this space, can I get a building in here? I absolutely can. We'll do this. And I think we will just go, I think we'll be kind of gradual with this. So we'll do a slightly smaller building here. We'll do maybe another couple of small buildings. Maybe some row houses. Oh wait, I just did a bunch of EU buildings. Hold on. That is not what we're looking for. We want the North American ones. Thank you very much. So North American mixed housing for all of these guys. We'll do, I think we'll immediately start going smaller because these guys are, this one in particular, I think is going to be kind of tall. So let's immediately, let's go a little bit smaller and we'll stay the same size on this one. We'll go like this, which is going to be even shorter. And then I'm going to try some row houses. And those can have slightly larger yards on them just for the hell of it. But does that mean that that's, oh, I don't know. I don't know if row houses are going to be the right shout. I think we're going to stick with it and see what happens, but it might be something we want to change. Either way, I'm sort of looking at this space and thinking row houses. I'm looking at this space and thinking row houses. I'm thinking row houses. You need to be extended. These ones could probably even be shorter now that I think about it. These ones maybe as well. These guys might be a little bit much, but we'll see how that goes. And then down here, we have this space. What if we try a little bit of, that's going to be huge. Absolutely not. I was going to say low rent housing, but apparently it wants to be a huge building. We'll do medium density housing, which is, it's a little bit bigger. I don't know that I'm going to love it, but we'll give it a shot. And if it's okay, we can play with it. And then maybe what we do is we go in here, we'll take out some of these guys. We'll do a little bit of medium density housing on this corner just to sort of bring that density through to this space. And then we'll go and do some more mixed use housing in here just to sort of fill this space up, I guess. That's kind of where I'm at with this. Let's do this guy. It's going to be a pretty decently sized building. We'll do, I don't know. Can I get like a 6 by something there? No, I can get a, oh, that's going to be huge. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. So what is that? 5. If I did a little, is that a little thing we can do? Apparently not. Okay. That's unfortunate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could do a couple of these. I can make it bigger. I think maybe that's what we do. We go a little bit bigger with it, go a little bit wider with it. Although, could I bring, can I bring a little road through here and not have it look terrible? I don't really know. I would like to. I think this building's gonna be too big. Let me redo some of this. Let me have this all cut out, and we'll do another little 3 by, we'll do a little 2 by, we'll do this guy. That's giving us a signature building, which is great. This is not what I was looking for though. I want this so I can maybe do an alleyway with some parking back there, because I think that would be a good idea. And then over this way, can I get like a 4 by 3? Is that a thing? I know that 5 by 3 is a thing, but that's maybe a way too big building. I don't know about that one. Really don't know about that one. Let's, man, I might be overdoing it here. I might be getting away from myself a little bit. Let's try this. And then we'll let this all build and have a look at it. These guys, these little row houses through here, I don't mind them. Although they are kind of bookended on either end with these buildings. This building in particular looks really cool though. I really like that one. I want to keep it. This one is a cool design, but less interesting for sure. And you know, I've got to be honest, this building just isn't doing it for me. Really not a fan. So let's try a bit of low rent housing and see what that would look like. That's maybe a little bit too tall. Let's try some North American medium density housing. And I don't know how tall they're going to be. All right, let me take these out completely. Let me make that smaller. And that's something I'm kind of okay with. I can make this work is what I'm thinking. Now for the rest of this space, I don't know that doing another alleyway through here is necessary, but I'm going to do another alleyway because it's me. And that looks like it might have just messed up a whole bunch of my zoning, which is really problematic. So let me go in here and turn off all the stuff that, oh, it has messed up my zoning. It's totally messed up my zoning. Oh, I hate when it does that. Oh, I hate when it does that. Okay, take out that entire section. And here's hoping I can fix it, I guess. Let me, what is this? Wide sidewalks, we'll have those by default. Let me somehow fix this. That did not fix it. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me, cities. Don't do this to me. All right, so after a little bit of messing around, this is what we're dealing with. It's a mix of mixed use zoning, and it's a mix of medium density zoning, such as these guys right here, which happen to be the same building. So I'm going to copy the style from this one over to this one because I absolutely love the look of it. And I think it's kind of cool with the road going through here. Maybe a little bit, it seems a little bit intimidating, but I'm kind of a big fan of that. So I'm not super worried about it. We do have all of this space back here to play with. And something I was considering was the idea of just bringing a little path back to, honestly, about here is kind of where I'm thinking. And then cutting it right down to there. So you can kind of walk around these buildings if you really wanted to. And then on this side, unfortunately, we have this little row house here, so I can't play too much with the paths, but I think I'm going to take that one out. And I'm just going to extend this path over to here and bring it straight down. We'll turn off snapping so it goes to right about there. And that's going to give me a bit of space around these two buildings to play with, which I think is going to be great. I would like to bring a path straight over there so we're not messing with the zoning that we have on that road. And I'm kind of thinking I want to try and get a little path that just goes along the backs of these buildings, which might be slightly tricky given that these ones are a little bit further back. Huh. I didn't really think about that, did I? Really didn't think about that one. Okay. That might complicate things ever so slightly. but we'll make it work. I'm not super worried about it. We can hopefully figure out some way to make this not look terrible. That's really the goal here, is just get this all to sort of look a way that's not gonna be something I want to delete in 5 minutes, which it isn't yet, which is good. That is progress. I don't want to delete it yet. I also kind of like that, which is good. So we're all right there. I guess this guy is this whole space might end up being some kind of it might end up being some kind of park, which, I mean, given that we have so many people living in here, might not be the worst idea in the world. And then the space at the backs of these buildings might end up just being a bunch of green space and super walkable. Not that it's going to be the most pleasant space to walk, because it is just the backs of buildings, but there are people that live in these buildings, so it stands to reason that we might want it to be walkable. Now, I suppose if this is going to be a park, I kind of want it to have some degree of function in here. So we could do a large playground. We could do a passage park, which honestly fills up the space pretty well and gives us an excuse to have another path going through there. So that might be the shout. The hedge park, probably not. The large city park, also probably not. Small playground, maybe, but maybe even just something like this. Just a little something in here to give this place some kind of function. I think that's kind of just what it needs. Although I could just put this guy right here and get rid of some of the fences and some of the paths and stuff. It would be nice if I could get this thing a little bit further back though. I think that'd be great. So maybe this one we hold off on until another time. I think the passage park is maybe gonna be my best bet. So let's throw it right about there. And that seems all right. I mean, it's functional. It's actually giving attractiveness to the area, and that's kind of what's important. Although I would like to take those fences out of there. I think that's going to be important. And I think what we can do is just go in here. We can grab this surface, and we're just going to extend it right around here as much as we possibly can to just make this whole area look, again, like it's going to be some kind of park or other. So this is going to go out to here, and the only angle of this we need to not mess with is this bottom one, so that we don't accidentally change the direction of the grass, which we're thankfully not doing. So we'll bring this out to here. We'll bring this sort of up and around, and we will just make sure that this is following that entire space, and that's a decent enough start. I'm kind of thinking I want to put a water feature in here as well, which might be something worth doing. It might break it up a little bit. It would certainly mirror the idea of having the water feature on the other side. But now that I've zoomed out and looked at this, it really just feels thrown in there. And I really don't like it. That's something I've done a lot with this build, is I zoom out and kind of look at something. And this part, I like this. I think it looks good from above. It kind of looks the way it should. This really does not. This does just feel thrown in here. It might look better with some trees. That might just be that little voice in my head that's like, hey, this looks terrible, undo it and start again. But it just, I don't think trees are going to fix it. So we're going to undo this park. If it's going to let me undo the park, there we go. And we're going to have to think of something else. Now, I suppose something we could do is start just chipping away at some of these little row houses. Now, I don't love doing this, but I think if we do this, I can kind of continue this density around this corner a little bit. And that, I think, is going to, I mean, just taking up some of this space, I think is going to be a good shout. Now, I think I'd like to leave a gap for a path in here. I could also just bring that alleyway through here as well. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll continue the alleyway straight through. We'll do our usual thing of maybe having some parking to start with. We'll do this guy. We'll do maybe something a little bit larger. We'll get this guy in here as well. In fact, let me just sort of do this one by one. We'll do this guy. We'll do this, and we'll do this. And does that give me a corner building? It absolutely does, which is perfect. On this side, we're going to do... Ooh, do I want to do parking? I think we do. I think we'll do this slightly smaller building. Actually, no. We'll do a slightly larger building here. And then a slightly smaller one here. That was not... I keep pausing. I keep pausing and it's giving me trouble. But that's what we're looking for. We'll go through here now with this alleyway up to here, across to here, and over to here. Now, this could, by all means, connect over there, which might not actually be a bad idea. It kind of gives us a weird little bit of flow around here, which might not do me any favors in terms of traffic management, but you know what? It's fine. It's it's a weird little shortcut to get around there. It's going to be something, and it's going to give me another bit of space for a tiny parking lot, which is fine. We have this space here as well, which I really don't think I want to. I really don't think I want to zone on this road. Although I could, I suppose, change this into a regular road. You know what? We'll just let this build. We'll just let it build. All right, so I'm starting to feel some kind of way about what we have going on here. I think it's a little better. This is obviously a lot more density than we had here before. And this is still a bit of a green space, but I'm thinking this layout is a little bit better. Now, what I'm wondering is, could I put anything in here? Like, do we need anything? I guess is the question that I have. We're not going to be looking at education. We're not going to be looking at medical. Fire coverage, for example. Where is that and how is it doing? So fire coverage is honestly not bad. It's really not. We could throw a city firehouse in here. It would be good in that space. Policing is honestly fine as well. It's really not needing much of an expansion. A city police station would be interesting to put back there. And honestly, it probably would. I mean, it really would fill up the space. It would certainly give me it would certainly give me a building back there, which is kind of what I'm looking for. I don't really have anything specific that I want to throw back there. Although I will say this is probably the better pick. So I think just because I know this is probably it's a really bad reason to want to put a building back here, I think, just because I have nothing else to put in the space. But I think we kind of need to just have something back here. And I'm trying really hard to avoid putting zoning on these alleyways wherever I can. I don't know why I'm doing that, but it's just kind of the rule that I've set myself is where possible, the alleyways will be behind other buildings. They will be at the backs of other buildings. So that's sort of what I'm doing here. So I guess this guy can go right here. And that honestly seems like a really good use of that space. I might be inclined to use move it to just grab the building and move it back a little bit. So just sort of have it, if I can get like just there, just so there's a little bit of room, maybe even move it to here. So there's a little bit of room between it and the road so that, you know, the trucks can kind of get out and turn and do all the stuff they need to do. That seems like a pretty good idea. We have this little fence here. We can maybe get rid of that and replace it with one that goes right down and around. We can have some fun with the surfaces here. And all in all, I think this is a pretty good use of the space. I'm sort of wondering if we want to do parking next to it. I don't necessarily know that we need to. Although if we did, I would be inclined to actually just use this guy and do a little surface here because I think that would be better. And I mean, looking at this, a little bit of parking there might not hurt. Just a little bit of custom parking at the back of the side of the fire station might not be a bad shout. Although alternatively, if I really wanted to get some parking in here, we could just put a little cut in this path right about there. And I could bring my little one-way alleyway with parking around here. That is not the worst thing in the world. I really don't mind that. I really don't. It seems like a really decent use of that space, to be totally honest. So I think that's kind of what I'm going to do there. It seems a bit cheeky, but you know what? It's all right. And then I think in terms of surfaces, I want to take these little tiled ones out because they kind of look terrible. And then for the rest of this, I figure we want to go in and take out this fence. I think that's a good idea. And honestly, I might take out, I think I'm going to take out all of this surface here as well. I think that's a good idea. Although I might just get started with replacing it first, because I'm thinking of using this gray walking stone, which is the same surface that was used on the front of, not the front of, sorry, the entirety of the schools. It's this texture. And I think that's better. So we're going to get rid of everything else. And I'm just going to go around and do my best to kind of surround this building in this texture because I just think it's going to look better. So we'll do a little node right here. We're going to bring this guy right over. We're going to bring this guy right over. And obviously we kind of need this to be, oh, this is going to be such a pain to do, but it's going to be so worth it if I can make this work. We need this to be in here and snapping in a way that kind of makes sense. So I need it just angle snapping. And I kind of need to bring this guy right over for a second so I can just push this ever so slightly to just the edge of that bollard, bring you back. And then the same thing over here. We want to go just to the edge of the bollard, just to the edge of that one as well. And it's the outside edge. So just like this, and then bring this straight down. We are going to want some kind of snapping to make sure it behaves and snaps to the sides of roads. So right there and right there. And I don't know if this is necessarily the best kind of surface for underneath a fire station, but it's going to look good. You know, I don't know if it's going to be the most efficient. I don't know if the trucks will appreciate driving on some, well, I mean, it doesn't look the most even, does it? But it's going to look good. And that's apparently what's most important. Oh, there we go. That looks exactly how I wanted it to. I think the little texture change was a good shout. And honestly, the parking around it doesn't look half bad either. So that seems like a good use. Why am I hearing so many? What is going on? Where are all of these? Is it just here? I think the medical clinic might just be going nuts with sirens. But you know what? This is good. This is a decent bit of density. That doesn't look quite as bad zooming out. So now I'm wondering, can I maybe get away with just turning this space into a really nice walkable area? Now, what I'm also considering is whether or not I should freeze the levels of these buildings and then extend the yards a little bit right up to this path. I don't know that I want to do that because I feel like the buildings have a chance. I mean, they could level up a little bit and could look pretty interesting, and it feels silly to sort of freeze them, but if I freeze them, I can make everything a bit more seamless, you know? I can bring the textures down, I can bring the surfaces down, and I think that would be a good idea. I've also totally forgotten about all of this space and all of this space. Oh man, I still have a lot to do with this area, huh? Just to kind of bring it together and make it feel a bit more like, man, I have placed so many trees by hand. What happened here? Hold on a minute, what happened to you? Burned down? Oh no. Oh, that's really bad. Good thing we just built another fire department. That might help us out a little bit. Nothing else is burned down, right? No, nothing else is burned down. That's good. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess it's a good thing we just built another fire department and hopefully a school that's going to help people not, you know, burn down their buildings. Can I change the color of the entire building? I can change that part, which is interesting. I don't really want to change that part, I don't think. I don't know what color it should be, but yeah, interesting that I can change that. You know what? We're not going to start playing with the colors of the school. We're not, we're not doing that. I have so much that I still need to do in here. And honestly, I think we should just keep it relatively simple for some of these surfaces. So in here can just have a little bit of a manicured grass texture. So it kind of carries through from here. The rest of this is probably not going to have that same texture because I think that would be a little bit much to carry through. So we'll kind of just do a little something here. We'll kind of bring this around as best we possibly can. I kind of need it to run all the way down there, and I kind of need this guy to come all the way back here, going around this corner down to about here, and we'll just bring it. Oh wait, no, I missed a part. It wants to go down this way and then through like this. And I'm sort of okay with that. That definitely looks a little bit less rough than what we had in here before. So that's a step in the right direction. As for the spaces back here, though, I really don't know what to do with it. I do feel like people should be able to walk from out here sort of around the backs of these buildings. So I might need to freeze the levels of these guys and maybe revisit the idea of letting them level up at some point. But for now, I think I need to freeze it, and you as well, so that I can do a little kind of custom pedestrian path thing in here. So let's take a look at some surfaces and figure this out. It's not quite going to be as fluid as this curve that we have going on, but honestly, that's okay. I figure we'll just use a little concrete surface or something. What is the surface of that path actually? Is it this? Definitely not. Definitely not. That is not what I'm looking for. It would be nice, and it might be in here somewhere. It'd be nice if I could get the texture of this little path. That'd be kind of great, because then I could just sort of make it artificially. Oh, that's really bright. No. Now, in saying that, I think I found something that's kind of close. I think this texture right here might be what we're looking for. So I'm just going to build something out like this for now. And honestly, that is pretty close. Does it overlap with the existing path? It does. So we don't want to do that, but that's not bad. It really isn't bad. So we'll go ahead and add a little node right here. And basically I just want this to run along the backs of these buildings. We're going to put some grass in there as well, but this is how we're going to get people sort of around the backs of these buildings so they can walk from what's going to be like a little shopping area thing to the parks and the fire station or wherever they want to walk to. They're going to be able to walk to there on this little path thing that we're going to put together. So let me take you out. Let me try my best. That looks roughly even. So we're going to, I really didn't want to grab that. So we'll just bring this straight over to about there, and we'll bring this straight out as well. Does that look all right? It looks about as good as it's going to be. Then I'm thinking that maybe this building's like surface could be replaced with this one to kind of carry things through. Or I could just bring this surface back a little bit and have the texture on the front of the building. So the texture kind of on this side gets replaced. And maybe we can add a little node here. We can bring this back. We can bring this back. And so we have this texture for where the vehicles would go, but we have this texture for everything else. That actually seems like a pretty solid idea. So does this overlap roads? It does, which is a little bit unfortunate. I'm gonna have to be very careful about that. But I want to bring this down and I want to bring it around. And I'm hoping that this is going to do what I want it to do. So it goes to there. It's going to go straight through to here. And does that look okay? It's a lot. It is a lot. It's very bright, but I think with some props, we can totally make that work. And then for this space back here, I think we just throw a bunch of grass in here. And I think that's going to be about it for this entire space, because otherwise it's never quite going to be right. I think I'm getting to that point with this little area. It's never going to be exactly how I want it to be. And I'm just going to spend forever working on this. And no one wants that. No one wants a City Skylines episode that's, 2.5 hours long and just me placing a million trees, right? Right? We're all in agreement on that one, right? Okay, so I think I've managed to get this to a place where I'm relatively happy with it. It might need a little bit of work here and there, but for the most part, we've added a considerable amount of density to this part of the city, whilst also keeping a bunch of details, a bunch of trees, a bunch of nature, a bunch of props, and also throwing some education in here, which I wasn't really expecting to do, but I'm not complaining about. I think this is a good addition, although I will say, just while we're looking at everything, I hate this building. I am not remotely a fan of this building. Like the gap between it and the building next to it, it's just really, it is not a good look. Let me let me go in here and just bulldoze. We're just gonna let it rebuild, I think. And I mean, this one's not so bad. I kind of like the corner on it, so I think it's done all the leveling it's gonna do, but I'm gonna lock it anyway. I'm gonna lock this one as well so it doesn't level up and change its appearance, and this one's already locked, which is probably for the best. The rest of them I don't mind changing too much. Hopefully nothing too major goes on with the rest of them, but I think this is a pretty solid little expansion to the area. I did end up going in and extending some of the surfaces and locking some of these row houses. Some of them aren't locked. The ones that have the path directly behind them, they haven't been locked because they seem to generate some hedges or some fences once they start leveling up. So it kind of helps to contain them and bring those textures and those surfaces right up to the path. These ones might have done similar if they leveled up, the problem being that they don't extend the path, so I figured just continue it through and do some detailing myself. And also, people happen to be using my little path back here, which is fantastic. This whole area has been turned into like another little market looking thing the way we did over by the roundabout, and all in all, I'm really pleased with this little expansion to the city. It's kind of really turned this into like a little downtown space, even though there's like, I don't know, there's probably not much to do really. It's mostly a downtown area because it's got a school and some big buildings, but I like it. I'm really pleased with it. I think it's a solid little addition to this part of the city. And so with all of this done and figured out and detailed and so on and so forth, it would usually be about now that I say it's time to wrap things up. But there is one last little thing I would like to do. It's not really a significant thing, but it's a thing I'd like to do regardless. I want to come in and I want to get some tiles. I want to specifically, and well, I want to get this one to start with so I can bring this bridge over here. But annoyingly, it's kind of looking like I'm going to have to get 4 tiles to really connect to the little road that I want here. Now, the monthly cost of this is going to be 109,000. If we look at things currently, my monthly balance is 384,000. So we can afford to do this. I don't really plan on building much out here, but I'm going to purchase those tiles. We're almost at we're at $2.5 million. So we're doing okay right there. But the main reason I want to do this is because I think I want to bring this bridge over here. I want to have this connection. I want to get out to this little regional road. Not that I urgently need to, I just kind of want to because I think it would be kind of interesting to do that. So that's kind of going to be my last little project for today's episode. So we'll go ahead and just get ourselves a tree brush to take out some of the foliage over here so that all of that goes away. And then we want to get a terrain brush that we can play with to hopefully get us something nice and level that we can play with here. And I think honestly, the easiest way to do this is going to be to bulldoze this guy. We'll go in, we'll take out these little bits of tree right there. And we're just going to bring this straight out of there. So this height right here, straight up to the edge of the water. And that's going to be the height that we go for on the other side right over here. So we're going to bring this right up to the edge of the water as well. And in doing that, I can just get myself a really simple bridge that's going to make my life a lot easier. So do I want to use a highway for this or do I want to use an avenue? I kind of want to use the arch bridge, I'm going to be honest. So let's figure out if that's something we can do. Now, in terms of height, I don't know what it necessarily needs to be. I want to say that 7.5 is enough. I think 10 might be too much of a slope. So we'll go for 7.5 and see what happens. And we basically want to go from here. I mean, do I want this to snap anywhere specifically? I don't really think it matters too much. I think we want to go from here, just across here, and I somehow need this to stay nice and level, which it is. So that's kind of what we're looking for right there. And is that high enough? I want to say that's high enough. It's a very, very big arch though, isn't it? It's a really, really big arch, but I'm okay with that. I think it's pretty solid. We'll go ahead and get ourselves just a little 4-lane road here. We're going to go from this spot. We're going to go down to ground level, turn off our guidelines, and I just want it to run in there. That hasn't messed with zoning at all on either side, which is great. I don't really know what the gradient was on that slope. I wasn't really paying attention, so hopefully we can get something over here that's going to be reasonable enough. I think, ooh, that's going to be really steep over there, isn't it? That's going to be really, really steep. I don't really want this to be stupidly steep on this side. So maybe we'll have a little bit of fun with this side. We'll go for 4.9, I think is reasonable. And I think I'm probably going to elevate some of this. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is just put some key walls on this side of it. And I'm going to put some key walls on this side of it as well, because I can bring the terrain up to meet the road. And I think that's going to look a bit better. As for the rest of this, I almost want to say that it should maybe turn into a bit of highway over here. It really doesn't need the sidewalks, although it does widen the road a little bit. So maybe what we do instead is we just turn it into a little 2-lane thing. I mean, it doesn't really need a whole bunch of lanes anyway, does it? Like these lanes are only here because I just want that bridge, right? That's the only reason they're there. So we'll just bring it down to a regular little highway section, I suppose, and that should be all right. So we'll go for 88 meters right there. That is not a highway. This is the highway section we're looking for. So 88 meters right there is pretty solid, and we can connect it over to everything else in just a moment. I kind of like that. I do. I think that's pretty solid. In terms of connecting it to this guy, I think what we'll do is take these guys out. We're going to bring this straight over, bring this straight up, and then we're going to get ourselves some kind of, I suppose, 45-degree angle here. So we'll go 88, we'll go 88, and that should connect right in there at 45, which it does. And then this can just intersect over here. So this is going to come straight through, take out those parts. We'll get just a very, very slight little curve on this corner. And then we can throw a bunch of asymmetrical roads at this whole thing. It's a bit of a mess, but it should be fine. And I am expecting a decent amount of traffic to come out here because this is essentially a new connection to the region. It's a direct shot through the city. It links so many roads together, and we're already actually seeing quite a bit of traffic coming through here, which we really might need to do something about. This little regional road is probably going to get even busier, and I don't know that I'm going to be thrilled about that, but I do think this looks cool. I think it's a cool little addition to this side of the city. I'm very, very excited about it. The only thing I'd like to do, like I said, is bring some terrain up to meet this. So let's go for 20 meters as the target height. We'll bring, yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. So 20 meters is the target height. I'm just going to bring this sort of out and around like this, and then we'll hit this with a smoothing brush to go from here up to about there. So it's going to be a nice gradual slope up to the top of that ramp. And then on this side, it's going to be slightly trickier because, well, we don't quite have the same amount of space, but we'll give it a shot and see what we can do. We'll go for 18 meters on this side and just hit it with a terrain brush like so. And then we'll go in with a slightly larger but much softer smoothing brush just to see if we can get this to look like the terrain kind of got built up to meet this. It worked a little bit on this side. It's really not going to work all that well. Over here, we'll go for a slightly stronger brush and just again, kind of hit this with a smoothing brush to just ease that out a little bit. Just make it look a little bit better and not quite have those giant concrete walls the entire way through this field, which that has slightly helped with. There's still some concrete walls there. It's still very distinctly a bunch of concrete walls, but it's a little better looking, and I think that's okay. Now, is traffic holding up okay here? It certainly looks like it's trying. I'm also thinking that we might be able to take an opportunity to turn off some traffic lights here because I don't know how busy those roads get, and I don't think they're going to be needed here either. Although I do think we should say that there are some priorities here. I think these guys all need to get priority. And I think it's going to be the same thing here, unfortunately. These guys all have to get priority. And then for this, I mean, it's got traffic lights, so it's whatever. We'll do the same thing here, priority for the avenue, so that anyone on those side roads is going to have to wait and give way to traffic that's going back and forth on the avenue. And I think that's okay. I'm also sort of looking at this and thinking it really might not be a bad idea to swap some of this out for a little bit more highway road. I think it looks a little silly. I don't know that I want to go the entire way up to there because that messes with the shape of the bridge and I don't really want to do that. But I think that's probably about enough. Or we could just, I could just swap this out for this kind of bridge. That would also be a choice, but then it seems even lower and seems even sillier. So maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe we just leave this as it is. Maybe what I'll do is just put some trees around it and we'll call it a day. And you know, I've got to say there's actually not as much traffic using this as I thought there would be, which is probably for the best, to be totally honest. If anything, it might take away a little bit from the demand of this road down here, but it's really not doing as much as I thought it would. It does look cool though. I think it's a good addition, right? It just gives us that connection. I don't know where it goes. It looks like it might go to a lot of the same places as the roads that we already have, but man, zooming out and looking at this, I'm really, really liking how it looks from a distance. I also like how it looks up close, but I also really I like it from like this view right about here. I just don't get to look at it from this view often because the planes kind of go past and deafen me every single time. So I try to stay either really zoomed in or really zoomed out. And I'm so pleased with how this is coming together. I will say this district, these European buildings, they look beautiful. They do. These like waterfront houses look incredible, but the abundance of color on the rooftops is throwing me off a little bit, and that might have to get changed out at some point. I could use recolor to do it, and I think we'll try that first before getting, you know, drastic and bulldozing a neighborhood. But I think for now we can leave it there for today. I'm really pleased with this little development we have in here. I hope you are as well. So yeah, that's going to do us for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.